do not know, we rate movies on 9 different categories. Those categories being the plot, the story, characters, special effects, cinematography, acting, score, world building, and the most important category is what we call the fun category, and that is the category where it's basically what did you think of the movie?
Yeah. I would always say that category would be, if I were to just straight up off the top of my head give a number out of 10.
Yeah.
That would be how I would describe that category. And then the rest of the categories, all based on, subjective opinions, but we try to score that. We try to score them based off of our own personal level, and then those create our actual final score.
Yeah. And then we average our stuff together and we get the final score.
Yes.
So that being said, do we want to get started off with
the plot?
So originally, I don't remember what I originally scored for the plot of this movie. I just know it was higher than what I gave it now. I do like this movie. I will say that. I like this movie. I think it's fun. I gave plot a 70, which, that's a solid, B?
Yeah.
It's straight up a B movie.
So I don't remember what my original score was for the plot either, but it was definitely lower. I still see the plot as, what is happening is we've got giant sharks that somehow have survived at the bottom of the ocean, and now they're attacking people. I guess I can't say it's not a terrible plot. I just see it as kind of a below average. It's
a definitely B movie plot.
Yeah. So for me, that got it a 43.
Okay. So a little bit above an F.
A little bit above an F, but still below average.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next up is the story structure. How well was this story told?
It's the Meg. What you see is what you get. I know originally this score for me was in the 80s. And in the original video, I don't know if that's ever going to come out. That might come out on Patreon or something when we start doing that. I was all over, just singing praise to how much I loved this movie. And
well, I gave a death stare.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure plot was originally an 80, or story was originally an 85. I dropped it down to a 65. That is a big drop, and it's just because it's I don't know. Watching the second movie the first movie is miles better than the second.
It is,
and it's not even close. But watching that second movie about the first movie more, and I was I was too soft on the first movie.
With me, the second movie, the story was so poorly told that it made me appreciate the first movie more. Because the first movie, it's not a good story, but it was told very well.
And it was told in a way that was fun. So it's
yeah. So it actually brought our scores pretty close together, because yours is a 65, mine was upgraded to a 62.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
The story structure brought it up to a 62. I actually think this was above average. The story was told and structured in an above average way.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a fun story.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest calling to me in this movie is that it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I have to praise a lot of the little things. The way I remembered the movie was that Jason Statham's character was just an all-out, just crazy person that does all kinds of crazy shit.
Well, no, that's the second movie.
No, yeah, the second movie made me realize the first movie actually he's more down to earth. Yeah, he's more of a human in the first movie. In the second movie, he's freaking Rambo.
Yeah.
He is a superhero, basically, in the second. Next up is the characters.
Characters in this movie, this was one of the scores that I kept relatively close to the score I gave it initially. And that's because I didn't really have any changing opinions on the characters. The characters are they're there. I do find Jason Statham entertaining. I do find the Doctor entertaining. I like every single one of them has points that I find them fun, and that contributed a lot. That being said, some of them are kind of underdeveloped, which is what kept me from giving it an 80 or 90 score for the characters.
Yeah.
I gave characters a 70.
I agree with a lot of what you just said. The only characters I really felt like were actually characterized were Jason Statham, Lee, and the side characters were just kind of, they were just kind of there. They weren't necessarily characterized.
Well, the CEO was kind of fun.
He was kind of fun, but I couldn't really bring the score above average, so I ended up. It was much lower before. I guarantee it was much lower before, but now it's a 47. All right, next up is the world building.
World building in this. This is one I considered dropping a little bit more just because the second movie is so bad. But then again, it's like at this point you haven't seen the second movie. And I think I said this in the original video that we used to record this. I like the world that they set up.
Yeah.
Initially in this movie.
Yes.
And we will get to that in the next video. I promise you. I do like the world. I like the idea of like the, kind of secret underground, or not underground, like secret ecosystem deep underwater.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. I enjoyed it. I'm a big shark fan, so I gave world building a 70.
With world building with me, I feel like they just... I can't really justify my score necessarily. It's higher than what I originally gave it. It's a 45 for me. It's like the world building, I feel like, is just a little bit... All right, next up is the acting.
This is one of the scores I didn't change, and I'm not sure why I gave it the score, so I'm going to pull my refuse to elaborate card out for this score. Yeah. I gave acting an 86, and I have no clue why.
The acting is interesting because like the little girl character is not terribly acted. It's really hard to find like good child actors.
Yeah,
it's really hard. Lee's character was just kind of, I don't know. She was very boring, or Lee's acting was very boring to me.
She seemed kind of like she was just there.
Yeah. Jason Statham is like, he did a decent job with this movie.
Yeah, I think the standouts for me in this movie, if you can really even call him that, are Jason Statham, the CEO guy, Rainn Wilson, and then the guy who plays Dr. Heller. Yeah. And I was talking earlier about the guy who plays him. I think his name is Robert Taylor. There is a movie that they cast him in. It's a small, Robert Taylor. It's a small budget movie called Blood Vessel, and it's like a small budget vampire movie where it takes place in World War II, and these allies, this group of like allies people, they get stuck on a raft and they find this German ship, and they try to get on the German ship to try to stay alive. The German ship ends up being empty because the vampire killed everybody on board. Yeah. That's neither here nor there. Robert Taylor plays the guy who you think is going to be like the big hero. He is supposed to be like the big selling point of the movie. And like 5 minutes into the movie, this dude is trying to get onto this ship, and he falls off and just gets run over by the propeller.
Wait, when does that happen? What?
At the very beginning of this Blood Vessel movie. They have him as set up as like the big hero character in this movie. And as he's clawing up the ladder, he falls off and just gets hit by the boat propeller and dies.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, he's in this movie for like 2 seconds.
Yeah. My acting, I put it as above average at 58. All right, next up is the special effects. Special effects...
To me, there are a lot of stuff that I find really positive about the special effects in this movie. I think the CGI was well done. It's not like 100% perfect. I did give it a really high score though, because I did enjoy like the scene where, and that should probably go into cinematography too. It's the scene where the shark tries to bite the tube with the little girl in it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. I liked a lot of the scenes with the shark whenever it shows up above the water too, because those look really good in this movie.
Yeah.
I gave special effects a 91.
I actually thought the special effects in this movie were pretty good. There's only a couple times that I pointed out while I was watching it. Like, there's the bit where the helicopter crashes on the ship, the explosion looks a little wonky. That's really about it. Most of the other special effects are actually fairly decent. The sharks look like sharks. I like that they do feel like they have weight to them, which is very important to me in movies, is if something is huge but it feels like it weighs nothing, then I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I gave special effects for this movie a 70. All right, the next up is the music.
That's another one. I originally had the music scored pretty highly, just because I thought it was funny. And then, the more I got to thinking about it, the more annoyed I got with some of the music, especially since, it gets reused in the second movie.
Yeah.
That being said, in this movie, I don't think it's bad. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
In this movie. I gave score a 73. Originally, I had it at like a 90. So
yeah. For me, the only thing I can remember is the cover of "Hey Mickey, you're so fine, you're so fine, you blow my mind." And it's in another language. I don't know, but that's like the only music I can really remember. And I neither like nor hate that. So most of the rest of the music I can't really remember all that much. So I gave it a flat 50 average. That was the only score I did not change from my original scores. All right, next up is the cinematography.
Cinematography in this movie, I think it's good. There's a lot of interesting shots. The only thing that keeps it from being like an 80 or maybe even a 90 for me is the shot with Jason Statham riding the shark at the end looks a little weird.
Yeah, I don't even know. The shark, I don't know why the shark jumped out of the water like that. Yeah. I really don't.
But yeah, I gave cinematography a 74. It's above average for me.
Above average for me is the score that I gave this for cinematography, because there are some shots that I did like. I like the chomping on the glass. A few of the shots where they showed how the shark was trying to move to eat the submarines and stuff. It wasn't terrible to me. Just above average at 58.
Yeah, so for me, it's like we have kind of differing ideas on average. Average for me is between like a 50 and a 65.
Pretty much. My average is 50 on the dot, basically.
Yeah.
And it'll go back and forth between like 45 and 50. Will be close to average for me. Just slightly above average, slightly below average.
So if you like a movie and he scores it low, you remember between 40 and 60, it's kind of average.
I'm gonna be the most hated person on anything that we put on, because that's just how I score things.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't like it. It just means that's what the score I feel like it needs or feel like it deserves.
So chill.
Yeah, chill out. All right, so our final category, which, as we discussed earlier, is the most important. This is basically the fully subjective take on the movie. How much did you like this movie? And it is the fun category.
So do you remember what I originally scored this movie in the fun category?
Yes.
Yeah, that changed.
That changed?
That changed.
That's surprising.
That changed a lot. And, I know we're supposed to, like, grade this subjectively, and we're supposed to be grading just this movie. A sequel can kind of kill a movie for you.
Yeah.
And, it's the same thing when you go back and look at different series, too. Like, a good example I could think of is Game of Thrones, where the first few seasons are awesome, and they were good to rewatch up until the last season came out. Now I just can't do it.
Yeah. In fact, if I talk to people about Game of Thrones that have never watched it, I tell them to get to the end of season 6 and then just pretend that you're waiting for the next seasons to come out. So, don't even watch season 7 or 8.
Yeah, and that's kind of an example here. It's like I as good as I think this movie is, and as much as I love this movie, I can't ignore the steaming pile of shit that we're about to review that came afterwards.
Yeah.
That being said, I still really much enjoyed the movie, and originally I gave this a 100, a perfect fun score. But with the way the sequel movie went, I had to drop it, and it's currently sitting at an 80 for my fun score.
That's a big drop. That's a 20-point drop, man.
Yeah. It went from 10 out of 10 to it's 8 out of 10. It's fun.
Yeah. See, that's the other difference in the scores, is that an 8 out of 10 for me is like, I freaking love that movie.
Yeah.
And if I ever score fun at a 100%, then I freaking adore a movie that scores at 100% for fun. There's not very many that I would put at 100%. For this movie, my original fun score, I'm pretty sure, was in the teens. I can't remember exactly.
I think it was a 2 out of 10.
It was, I really did hate this movie pretty bad, which is interesting because, like I said, everyone around me seemed to like it. Like, my wife likes it, you liked it.
My wife loves it.
Yeah. And I couldn't see why people liked it. I just thought it was terrible. But then we watched the second one, and then rewatching it today just to get ready for this, I was like, you know what? After watching that second one, this one isn't so bad. This one's actually kind of fun to watch. Kind of. Keyword there is kind of.
Yeah.
So the fun score for me is still below average at a 42. I mean, I can watch and enjoy a movie that I put at a 42. I really can, because I can enjoy some things. Like, if you've watched the Jaws movies, I gave that a pretty low fun score, but I appreciated everything else in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, like, I've got some movies that the final scores are in, like, the 30s and 40s that I absolutely love, like fucking Sharknado.
So those are our scores for the movie. What was your final score?
My final score was a 75.5.
Which puts your numeric score at a 7.6 out of 10.
It's a B.
It's a B.
Just barely a B.
So for me, my final score came to a 52.77, which, considering the last time I scored this, it was at like 30%. I actually brought it up quite a bit.
Which brings our combined final score for the list to a 64.1. And let's see where that puts us on our current list. You want to know something crazy?
What?
On the list that I have on my phone, it didn't change positions at all. It literally went up 1 point.
It went up 1 point?
Yeah. Because your score went up about 10 or 15 points. Mine went down 10 points.
Yeah.
So it still averaged out.
Still averaged out the same.
At least we're consistent, guys.
All right. So for the list that we currently have, what the people should be seeing on screen right now, we're at a 64.10, which is going to put it at number 4, actually.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Because it actually beat out Deep Blue Sea.
That's crazy. I think it beat out Deep Blue Sea in the other list, too. Yeah,
it did. Because
we had a whole conversation about that.
Yeah, we did, because I love Deep Blue Sea more than I love The Meg, obviously. But The Meg got bonus points for being a more modern movie, so it got higher scores than some other things.
A product of its time.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because the list we have with all the movies that we've graded together, this movie sits at number 9 out of 16.
It was a good, I would say, watching it again after watching the sequel made me like it more. Made you hate it more. So it's the weird dichotomy between the two of them.
Yeah. This movie is going to be fun to watch the next time we get drunk.
Yes.
If I don't do a cartwheel on the lake. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our Fin Finder.
Yes. My scores are objectively correct.